This is going to be a debrief on purchasing different materials for water bottles, water containers, water vessels, anything with a bottle and a cap to seal the liquid inside. It's going to give some archetypal points on each material used in canteen or water bottle creation that I have seen as of recent. And I'm not going to go into something like wood or something made of coconuts, since it's not something that's often used in water bottle creation today. Furthermore, there are many, many poor water bottle designs out there, most often found at your local stores as opposed to the internet. This is going to focus on the advantages and disadvantages of the better made designs out there to each specific material. And I will include a companion piece to this on specific canteen products and their own respective pros and cons that will likely reflect the content seen here on the material types video. However, this video will influence you. Hopefully, this video will influence you in deducing what type of water container that you desire. Plastics is going to be the first one, as you can see here. You could, it's the cheapest. In fact, you could just purchase a standard Gatorade bottle, drink it up, and if you were a cheap bastard, you could just reuse it for a long time and just buy several of them or after one breaks. However, it is very easy to get something strong for a very low price, such as with the Nalgene bottle here. You can get something like that for around $10, or the USGI bottle right here for around $10 as well. It is usually durable plastics, but if not, it is usually cheap enough to replace it with another, as I just said. So again, you could go with the $10 plastic thing, or you could just buy several Gatorade bottles after one breaks, just replace it. Plastics can be see-through, as with this one, or something like this Nalgene sphere container, allowing you to see any debris or bugs that may have made its way into the container, and it also helps for cleaning and knowing when you need to refill. Plastics are also lightweight for their respective durability, and often you can find simple, reliable, tested designs, and that'll play as I go into some of the other materials out there. Just because there's so many plastic bottles out there, the research is there, the designs are pretty good in general, and they do their job of keeping the water inside, etc. And like I said, it's extremely lightweight. That and I think titanium are going to be the two lighter materials that you can use that I would recommend. Disadvantages to plastic is that it has a negative influence on the taste. It all depends on the specific plastic product that you use, but many plastic containers tend to musk a flavor of a bog or a crypt with some use. Sometimes it's old fish, and I have found that sometimes no amount of cleaning will rid the bottle of this nasty smell or taste. Plastic does not insulate well, particularly during the summer. I have found many plastics tend to heat the internals on the warmer side, amplifying the flavor, and in this case, not for the better, since it's, I guess sort of like you could imagine German beer meant to be drank warm for the enhanced flavor, but in this case, if you're just drinking water, it tends to taste musty. With plastic leaching into the flavor and the water tending to run a little bit warmer, it can make each drink distasteful. Another disadvantage is its potential of leaching. While most plastic bottles have rid themselves of the BPA label, we may never have the majority of the scientific world in agreement on whether plastics leach into the liquids that they contain. I'm not going to go into detail on this since I'm not a scientist and I'm not the forefront of research, but it is worth caution if this is the container that you end up drinking a significant quantity of liquid from. Alright, on to metals. Let me clear my thing here. This will go into two subsections, one for stainless and one for titanium. And note, I would not recommend aluminum or aluminium, as I have read enough material that has a negative influence to your health, and I definitely wouldn't want to cook or boil with aluminum and have it leach into my food or drink. Furthermore, for relative price and weight, I believe that stainless does everything nearly as well as aluminum, other than perhaps the weight. And I have yet to use an aluminum bottle product that I would consider noteworthy in competition terms, and just proceed with caution as you would with plastic in terms of the leaching. All right, on to metal stainless. Let's get our containers. So, one is that it is incredibly durable for its weight. It can be cooked with. Water can be boiled. Soups or broths can be brewed with inside a stainless steel vessel. But as I will mention in a minute, a double wall stainless may not be what you want to use. Let me go grab that though. All right, so stainless can be made very strong, particularly with the single walled vessels, as I just mentioned, with the double walls. So something like this Nalgene bottle here has a very strong single wall. Depending on the quality of steel, some of the better stainless steels leach much less flavor and perhaps other who knows what into the fluids. And I would also say, other than the durability, the fact that stainless steel can be cooked with or boiled, and that it doesn't leach as much flavor, I would say that stainless steel has some sort of a magic cooling characteristics. On one hand, you do have the double-walled vacuum designs, such as this one. But on the other hand, I find that most stainless steel canteens tend to run a few degrees cooler than many other materials mentioned. Only plastic particularly tends to run warmer than desired. However, on a paltry summer day, this can be the difference between repugnant to a subdued taste. So again, it just tends to taste a little bit cooler, even if the sun is on the vessel. And also with these, the double-walled, which I think there's a couple titanium double-walled, but with this double-wall design, it prevents the external temperatures from influencing the flavors inside. Disadvantages with stainless steel. Depending on the design, dents come easy with drops. This one actually has one, I think, on the bottom here. Right there, yeah. So if you can see right there, oh yeah, there's that dent. It usually will not crack like plastic will upon too much damage, but the dings can eventually make the bottle unable to sit up. This one is still fine. Just a note though, you might be able to hammer the dent back into some form of its former stature. Hopefully you can, there you go, nice. It's a nice dent right there. Some of the better stainless steel designs tend to cost around 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 US dollars or extra. Stainless steel tends to run the heaviest, particularly if you want that extra durability. And note, it is not recommended to cook or boil with a double wall stainless steel vessel, such as this one. I don't think you'd want to cook or actually put this in the dishwasher with the anodized part here, just because it'll flake it off, and you certainly wouldn't want that contaminating if it's cooking on the open top. But this usually is made with two thinner walls of stainless steel. As you can hear the ding, nice echo in there. It's distanced the two steel walls to insulate the insides from the outdoor temperatures. This also means, though, that a double wall bottle is unlikely to collect dew on the outside when it's cool. But also, if you try to cook with this insulation of two layers, it will likely take a very long time, possibly hours. So I've actually heard one person say that it takes as much time as it would for the water inside to reach room temperature. If you're putting boiling water or frozen water inside of a double wall, it would take that same amount of time, however many hours, to actually cook it. But it also will promote the insulation seal to burst, and which will allow water to leak between the two layers and cause mildew Furthermore, complexifying any design adds more room for error, as the walls tend to be thinner and therefore less durable. Advantages to titanium. Let me move these. All right. It is incredibly durable for its respective weight, even compared to stainless steel. In fact, I would probably consider titanium and plastic the two strongest, and two light ones as well. I'll discuss the average designs in a minute for stainless steel that I have seen. But a titanium piece could make for an heirloom object lasting lifetimes, and I would expect as such for its steep price. Because it doesn't need to be as thick as stainless steel to achieve the same strength, it can be made much thinner and therefore lighter than stainless steel. Excuse me. Titanium can dent, but it is more difficult than stainless steel, as the latter can feel like an anchor. The stainless steel can feel like an anchor with the quantity of water and the water bottle's weight falling. So with the water bottle's stainless steel weight and with the water inside of it, when it drops, it increases its chances of denting upon hitting the floor. So even if you're comparing the relative strength of stainless steel to titanium, that extra weight is going to increase its impact on the ground and therefore dentage. Another advantage, next to something like ceramic or glass, I have yet to taste a high percentage titanium product that tainted the flavor of what I drank. Titanium is one of the, if not the most non-toxic materials known to men, women, humans. And titanium, it can be cooked with, and titanium has a very hasty heat up under the torch or flame. Disadvantages to titanium. It is prohibitively expensive in comparison. I'd expect to spend from $70 to over $150. And with time, this might go down if there's more demand for it and more research, etc., to make a better design. But at the moment, it's very prohibitive. The technology for manufacturing titanium is young and expensive and doesn't have the market to incentivize innovation at the time. Therefore, the designs of something as simple as a water bottle have been laughably bad in terms of mistakes. Every container that I have held makes an obnoxious squeaking noise upon closing with a titanium lid. Oh yeah, right there. So, especially at night when you're just trying to grab a nice drink, it's likely to wake up those around you. I think they make plastic lids for most titanium containers, vessels, and I'm not sure if that lessens it or to what extent. I think you'd get a similar squeaking noise out of stainless steel, honestly, with a stainless steel cap, but I think titanium tends to be just a little bit more obnoxious. Hopefully, as you heard. Most titanium containers I've held tend to leak, and again, it's just a poor design. I think the threading should be on the outside instead of it sealing on the inside, but there you go. And if you ever intend to cook inside titanium, it happens to be a fast heat, as I said, as an advantage, albeit it is a sticky, clingy material with the contents inside. It eats up oils and butters fairly fast, which can make cleanup of heating anything outside of water difficult. So even if you're just going to brew something, things love to stick in titanium. I don't think it would make too much of a difference in the canteen, but so you know. And note, I have yet to try it, but something to seal between the lid and the bottle here, and the threads there and on the inside here, like beeswax, may help in creating a proper seal upon enclosure, as well as eliminating the intensity of the squeak. And note, the company in the forefront of innovation for titanium products, I think, is Snow Peak, which is made in Japan, and yet they don't make a large water bottle out of titanium. All right, next one. On to glass. And I'm not going to go into too much detail with glass just because it's fairly straightforward, and you probably use it in your day-to-day life anyways. So the advantages of the glass is that it shares with plastic and that both can be see-through. This has the obvious advantage mentioned earlier about seeing what lurks within your water. This aids in seeing debris or other mischief that has found its way into your drink. It's generally useful for sensing when your glass needs it clean, and it also allows you to brew sun tea for those that are curious. Glass is cheap and available just about anywhere, and while you can go to the Container store or shop online for glass, you can also just buy any glass beverage container from the store and reuse it. Like plastic, it is easy to find and find a replacement upon breakage. And this is just important because one of the disadvantages of glass is going to be its ease and breakability. So again, instead of just buying some really nice glass piece that's considered unbreakable, which they're all breakable, something probably made from a Container store like this, you could just buy something like a kombucha bottle or one of the nicer glass beverages at the store for about $5, and then you have a 32 64 ounce glass container. So again, very easy to replace. Disadvantages of the glass though is that it is heavy and it is fragile. This is probably the two biggest differences between that and plastic. Not the best travel container either. Another disadvantage is upon breakage, it is potentially hazardous, as glass shards tend to spit out into dozens, if not hundreds, of fragments. Glass does not respond well to sudden temperature changes, as it tends to make the material brittle and increase its chances of cracking. In conclusion, though, I'd separate the needs, if you're looking for a water vessel, into two categories: stagnant life and on the go. And even when you're looking at something like on the go, something like am I just going to go running for a day, because that might incentivize something just like a hydration pack, versus if you're camping and you plan on cooking, then you could use something like stainless steel. But if you're traveling far and going ultra light, then now you have to use plastic and titanium. For stagnant life, such as an object sitting in one place at work or at home, glass is the easy winner for those seeking the best value, or a good value. If it stays in one spot, its disadvantages are small unless you drop it and the explosion takes its toll. Yeah, you could argue that a double wall stainless steel container or more expensive options. And sure, if you're willing to spend the price for its case of adding even more advantages and disadvantages. However, I think in stagnant settings, the glass sits aside the ceramic mug. And just so you know, I didn't include ceramic only because I have yet to see a common solution for containing ceramic mugs for any form of travel, albeit it is the obvious choice for cheap heat and a beverage container for teas, coffees, etc. And again, if you're willing to pay the price, double wall stainless steel can perform the duty of both plastic and glass, although for more price. And like I said before, I think there's also titanium double wall. For travel situations, I think the other options fit better here than glass or ceramic. And the major differing value depends upon your budget and then your desires. Do you want to go ultralight? Then get titanium or plastic, depending on your budget. Do you want to cook and boil your water? Then get stainless steel or titanium, again, depending on your budget. All three are durable enough depending on the specific product model that you are looking for, both plastic, titanium, and stainless steel. And notes, I have about 5 separate notes here. One of them, which I think is important, if you're planning on cooking, but you don't want the stainless steel because it's too heavy or you don't have enough money to invest in titanium, there are mugs. I'm not sure what the word is here, but there we go. So these both have been cooked in, but basically, so instead of buying a stainless steel container, most of these spherical shaped mugs will fit into here, and then most Canteen shapes plastic, metal, stainless, or titanium will fit into most of these mug type canteen containers that are made of stainless steel here. So just it sort of makes the cooking thing less relevant when you can just cook in one of these and then pour it into the container after it's cooled down some, etc. All right, so but there's also have the wide mouth versus the narrow mouth containers that is worth considering when you are buying a water bottle. Let me give an example of each. So here we have a narrow container, like this Nalgene one that I think I showed earlier. The advantages of a wider opening in a bottle is that it's easier to scoop water into it, and it is much easier to clean by hand. And I'll show that here. One, it's much easier to see what you need to clean inside of this large opening, and it is easier to reach in there with some sort of scrubbing utensil. Furthermore, it's easier to scoop water because if my hand here is this representation of imaginary water, you can see that it is very close to some sort of a stream or other container, less than an inch. And something like this is going to be a bit more distant. Something like this, though, would work a little bit better just because the nose here is a bit longer, or the mouth. The advantages of a narrow mouth, though, is its ease of controlling the flow of the guzzle. And what I mean by that is that the water comes out here at a slow rate, and it's sort of more like a bottle, and that you can control it. Whereas what I've found with some of these bigger openings, not necessarily this one, is that when you try to control it and drink out of it, it just shoots into your face, especially when you're in a car or you're moving, etc. You sort of have to stop and drink them. And I've even found it with some of the medium, larger ones. Okay, another note. The canteen shape versus the sphere shaped. I mentioned this earlier, but just so you know, here's more of a spherical shaped water bottle, more like your typical one, and here's more of your canteen shaped water bottle. One with this sort of curvature here to rest against your body when it's on a belt, etc. As an extension to the mouth openings, it is easier to manipulate and leverage a canteen-shaped bottle in order to fill it in water or on a lateral plane such as a creek. So again, I can demonstrate that you can get closer to the water with this design where it sort of curves out here. There you go, the kidney bean, and versus something like this, which is going to give you just a bit more length between you and the source of water. It is easier to manipulate and leverage a canteen-shaped water bottle in order to fill it with the water or on a lateral plane such as a creek. A canteen's other advantage is on a belt or other harness-type setup. The canteen's shape nests its weight better against the body, but note while a canteen shape can nest into a separate mug for cooking, like I showed here, or actually both of them can, I don't know why I said that. The best weight distribution, though, so you should know for the quantity of water, is in a hydration pack worn inside of a backpack, as I mentioned earlier. It's the lightest solution, even though it's going to be a plastic vessel. You can carry, I think, a liter or two in there, and it feels much lighter than carrying some sort of water bottle that's still distributed further away from the body than it would be on a backpack. So while the former canteen shape suits itself well for camping, where you can wear it on your hip, etc., or on a belt, etc., or a vest, there are more backpack pockets that are shaped for this spherical shaped design, and also virtually all car cup holders are going to be shaped for the sphere shaped design anyways. Okay, and cleaning. Aside from the obvious and ease of cleaning out a water bottle with a wider mouth opening that I mentioned earlier, and if the material is see-through to know what you are scrubbing at in the field, you can also decontaminate most single-walled metal containers, such as this one, by letting the metal cook inside the fire, the same as if you were boiling water within it. In fact, you can also just do it with water inside of it. I have read that you only need to boil the water for 60 seconds to eliminate the most contaminants that boiling will reduce. I would not recommend doing this, however, if there are any plastic parts on the design. They will melt. And again, neither would I recommend aluminium for the fear of the material leaching. I have one design here. Doesn't prove the point, but this part screws off right here. But this is actually the drinking lid here. If this was stuck on the vessel, I'd be concerned about that melting in the fire. But also with this design, you have the nylon strap here that I would be concerned also about melting under a flame. And again, neither would I recommend aluminium, blah, blah, blah. Furthermore, I have found a tip to rid the plastic funk in water bottles is to leave a denture cleaner inside the water bottle overnight, a plastic like this one, in order to disinfect the musk. Not sure how well this method would work on the trail, however, particularly in rinsing the bottle out afterward, since the water that you'd be rinsing it out with would most likely be contaminated. And then the last note is water cooling. Some of the older Canteen designs utilized a wool cover around the container, since it acted as insulation that you could also dunk into the water, the wool cover, to keep the contents inside cool while the water was soaked into the wool fabric, which would last for about 8 hours. For anyone that has owned wool and knows how long it stays wet once it gets wet. This method is often not used today as it was about 100 years ago, since you wouldn't want to contaminate your water vessel with unfiltered water sources. However, you can see this on some bladders and Civil War canteens for the curious. And good day.